Excellent. Well, welcome everybody to this webinar on the Certificate in Translation. My name's John Warren and I'm the Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Linguists, and I'm joined today by Sam Taylor, who's our Senior Consultant in charge of qualifications, development and quality. So thanks for joining us today. We're going to give you a whistle-stop tour of the Certificate in Translation, the ideas that gave rise to it, why we created it, how to take it and how to be successful in it, some insights into the marking criteria and why we think it's a great qualification to take because of the opportunities it will give you as a linguist. And as the Chartered Institute of Linguists, that's of course what we're all about. So without further ado, we'll continue into the slides and take you through them as quickly as we can. So, the Chartered Institute of Linguists, so we're a Royal Chartered professional body. We've been representing and supporting linguists as a profession since 1910, so for over 100 years. We set benchmarks for quality and standards worldwide. We have around 5,000 professional members and over 1,500 affiliates and student members, and we're the only organisation who can award you the title of Chartered Linguist, which is a great thing to be. We have an awarding organisation for linguists as well as part of our CIOL, and with CIOLQ we offer exams in around 40 countries and in lots of different time zones annually, and that's of course important for the CertTrans and also the DipTrans, two of our qualifications which are very much sought after internationally. We offer exams in a very wide range of languages. We hold annual awards and ceremonies and award a number of cups and trophies for the best performance in an exam. Our qualifications are formally recognised in the UK, and they're also part of the, and they also map onto the European qualifications framework as well. So that's a little bit about us as an awarding organisation. So why did we create the Certificate in Translation, the CertTrans? Well, basically, it was in response to feedback from language professionals themselves, from our colleagues in universities, and also early career linguists who wanted a qualification which would get them into the world of translation and also give them opportunities for routes into the profession as a linguist, and also a useful skill which would be highly valued by international organisations. And that has proved to be very much the case for people who have taken the CertTrans so far. And this webinar will provide a short overview of the qualification, which will include why we developed it, how we think you can succeed, what it will actually be like taking the exam, some insights into source texts and the marking criteria, and we'll also cover how we think the CertTrans can help you with a successful career in languages. So I'll turn to you, Sam, for this, because you were very much one of the prime movers in the development of the CertTrans. Tell us the story of why we created it.
Okay, so we developed the CertTrans because we felt the timing was right. We wanted a working level, practically focused qualification. We wanted to support people in the start of their career as well as experienced professionals, because it offers great transferability. And we wanted a global reach and also to help membership progression. So we felt that there could be a bridging qualification to our level 7 DipTrans qualification, as well as providing a qualification that was a standalone at level 6. So the actual development of this qualification, as with all qualifications, goes through a series of multiple steps where we quality assure each step. So from the scoping, the design, the development, we go through different processes. So we come up with an initial idea, and that idea is always then has to be backed up by consulting with stakeholders and getting their views and opinions, right through to consulting with subject matter experts in the creation of learning outcomes and assessment criteria. And so we work closely, the team at CIOLQ, with all of these professionals to come up with a really robust qualification that holds up to scrutiny, both in a regulatory capacity as well as the sector and the confidence in the sector.
So terrific, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I cut in there. Did you just
That's
want
absolutely
to?
fine. I think just to say that we're very, very confident and pleased with this qualification. And we believe that pitched at level 6, it does provide something that wasn't out there up until
Brilliant.
now.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sam. So perhaps just a word on some of the benefits of professional exams. So professional exams don't require the dedicated study time and attendance that you would have with university exams, and also don't attract that level of fee. So they're more flexible in terms of the preparation and the balance of courses that you might take versus your own self-study. So of course, although courses are very, very useful, you're not formally required to take courses to take professional exams. What's taken is what's called a CASLO approach, which is the purpose of the exam is to confirm the acquisition of specified learning outcomes. So in simple terms, that means that the purpose of our exams is to clearly demonstrate that a candidate has the required skill, competence, or capability at the right level as is required by an employer or by a profession or by a professional body. So that's exactly what our qualifications do. They confirm that you have the skill, you have achieved the learning outcomes, and you can demonstrate that in your exam performance. Now, university qualifications, of course, are incredibly valuable, especially masters in translation and indeed undergraduate translation units and modules, but they're testing slightly different things. They're more about understanding an overall discipline. They're about developing and sustaining the tools of argument. They're about research and scholarship. So they cover a broader range of things. So incredibly valuable though they are, they're doing a different thing than a CASLO professional exam. So we think that professional exams are ideal for adult learners and people with other commitments, and our qualifications can therefore help linguists to be confident and succeed in their working lives whilst taking exams which are a little bit more flexible than attending university courses would be. So why take our qualifications in particular? Well, with CIOLQ, you can be very sure of what you're getting. We specialize in languages and we don't do anything else. Our qualifications and reputation are truly international. And as I say, we've been around for over 100 years, so we're well established. Based in the UK, but our Royal Charter mission is bigger than that. We seek to serve linguists all around the world, and we have members from all around the world and people taking our qualifications from all around the world. So future professional translators can take our qualifications now from the comfort of their own homes, but we offer them in all international time zones. So basically you can take one of our qualifications from anywhere, so long as you have a strong internet connection, an up-to-date laptop, and a good computer. So they're very accessible and available. So how might you be successful in this qualification? Well, as with any exam, preparation is the key, and we would strongly recommend you read the qualifications specification and the candidate guide to remotely delivered exams. And there are also a couple of tutorials on what the process of logging into the system feels like, which are available on our website. In terms of the level of the assessment, it is a level 6 or degree level assessment, so it is quite stretching and challenging. So you will want to make sure that you have sufficient training and or experience in translation techniques to be comfortable taking a degree level exam. But it is an accessible exam, so you shouldn't be fearful of it. Your translations will have to be completed to a high standard of accuracy, and this means accurate transfer of information, so no information is lost, that you use terminology, vocabulary, and any jargon correctly, that you also carry across the register and the tone, the correct grammar and syntax of the text that you're translating, and that you organize it, that it's cohesive and coherent and has the right sort of style, punctuation and accentuation as required. So it is important that you have a high level of language competence in both the source and the target language. So English and your other language to a high level of competence will be important. The other thing is time. There is ample time to make your translation, but nevertheless there is time pressure in one of our exams. So translating at the right speed is quite important to make sure that you don't run out of time. So what will it be like taking the exam? Well, as I say, you take it via our online exam delivery platform, which you can have a little play with using the link from our website. All of the information you need is in our qualification specification and the video guides and also the written guides. And of course, our client services team would be very happy to assist you if you have any queries. On the day, you'll be invigilated by a live remote invigilator, so you won't be alone. The week before your exam, you receive an admission notification, which is an automatic email and link, which will tee you up for the exam on the day. And at the start of the session, you'll do a quick ID check with a valid ID document with a photo and signature, something like a passport or a driving license. And then we do recommend you try the online demo test, which just gives you an opportunity to familiarize yourself with the functionality of the platform. It's very similar to things that you would use normally, Microsoft products, etc. But nevertheless, it's always a good idea just to give it a test, because you want to be as relaxed and confident as you can be on the day. And that's what it looks like, and that is accessible on our website. One point to make: it's an open book exam, so you can use hard copy dictionaries and published glossaries and word banks, but you are not allowed to use online resources, so you can't use Google Translate, browsers, or any form of automated translation technology. So it is basically testing your core translation skills. So a little bit about the texts and the marking. So the source text, our setters will obviously look at published sources and research papers, but the final exam will be a new authentic text, which will be of a type that translators might be expected to be presented with in their daily work. It'll be reasonably linguistically demanding, but it will be of appropriate difficulty, not excessively difficult, and the subjects will be neutral. For Unit 1, which is the general unit, the exam text will be about 500 words, appropriate for an educated general reader. It'll have a variety of difficulties in grammar and vocabulary, which will require a bit of resourcefulness and flexibility. And ultimately, we're looking for degree level translation skills to achieve a successful rendering of the source text. You may come across some cultural references, some idioms, some similes, metaphors, colloquialisms, humor, figures of speech, etc. But again, this will be an accessible text. Same is true for the source text for units 2 and 3. They will be challenging for the reader, but without being too difficult or highly specialized. So again, they're testing linguistic competence. They're not testing in-depth knowledge of a semi-specialized area. And the main challenges will be a bit of terminology, perhaps concepts, and then importantly, appropriateness of style for a business context or a government or a public service context. So style is a thing to bear in mind. The target audience is, this is common for all translation, must be carefully considered, as this does affect the style in which the text should be written. So you might be more conversational in a consumer orientated piece, but if it's targeted at professionals or citizens, then it would pay to be a little bit more formal. So that's a useful detail to pay some attention to. The sorts of topics that might be covered in units 2 and 3, business and commercial could be accounting, banking, business development, commerce, marketing, management, those sorts of things, but it will be a text. It won't be a form or something like that. It will be a normal text of 300 words. And the same, you can see the list of sorts of topics that could be covered for government and public services, a wide range of topics, but again, it will be a normal text. So Sam, over to you for some insights into the marking criteria.
Thank you, John. So if we talk about the units now and the marking, so each unit, there are 3 units, they attract pass, merit or distinction, but the qualification grade overall will be a pass. So what that actually means is that if you do 1 unit, you can get a pass, merit or distinction, or 2 units, but when you get your full qualification certificate, it will just be a pass, just to represent. But you will also have unit certificates, and they will have credits on them as well. So you will have a really full picture. So for each unit out of the 3, so unit 1 is slightly different to units 2 and 3. So it has be able to produce translation of a general text that shows accurate transfer of information, and be able to produce translation of a general text that is grammatically sound, cohesive and coherent in the target language. The only difference with units 2 and 3 is that they are of a semi-specialized text. So as John was talking just now, there are various different subjects you may select. So to recap then, so unit 1 is the larger unit and focuses on a general text. Thank you, John. And the next slide, so within each of the learning outcomes, there are specific assessment marking criteria. A little bit about learning outcomes and assessment criteria. This is a vocational qualification, so learning outcomes describe what candidates should be able to do by the end of their course of study and assessment, and the assessment criteria describe how this will be judged, so for example at exam, at assessment. And then within our specification, the marking descriptors indicate what is required for the award of particular grades. So when you look at our qualification specification on our website, you'll be able to try and target the grades that you're aiming for, which is also very useful. So on this slide, there are some assessment criteria. So they're very active when we're talking about assessment criteria. Remember, they are what you have to do at assessment to pass. So demonstrate accurate transfer of information. So that's your practical aspect without omissions, additions, distortions, or misinterpretations. Apply your knowledge and understanding and use of semi-specialized terminology, vocabulary, and any jargon. And then again, very actively demonstrate active transfer of subsidiary information, as well as register and tone from the source language into the target language. So you're probably building a picture now that this is a very practically applied qualification focus that the CertTrans is. And the next slide. And then for LO2, you'll also need to demonstrate ability to produce a translation in line with norms of grammar and syntax within the target language. Demonstrate ability to ensure that the target language is appropriately organized, cohesive, and coherent, and produce a translation that conforms to the conventions of the target language. So it's very much building on that final piece where you have to produce a translation that picks up all the elements of the assessment criteria. And the next slide. So we do urge you to have a look at our, in particular, from pages 11 to 14, and the marks will be awarded under 2 principal marking categories: accuracy of translated text and grammar, cohesion, and coherence. So marking criteria, they differ from model answers and more prescriptive marking schemes, and they offer you the opportunity to demonstrate a range of knowledge, understanding, and or skills. So they are very, very akin to the practical professional or the starting linguist. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Sam. One question that came in just a little earlier was whether candidate would be allowed to use a personal Word bank saved onto an Excel spreadsheet on your computer. We wouldn't advise that, and the reason is that because this is an invigilated exam, one of the things that we need people to do is have their screen only showing the testing platform that we have. So it would be a problem to be toggling off and using electronic resources. So it would be better if you have a Word bank to print it out if that's possible, but certainly what we're looking for in terms of the invigilation is that people stay on the platform and don't move off it. So that's quite an important feature of the exam to make sure there is fairness. So just one point as we go past it, actually, Sam, in terms of the marking criteria, I think it is very important to underline that there is some tolerance for some mistakes, some errors and omissions. So that is allowed for in the marking criteria. We're not seeking absolute perfection. As we were saying, what we're seeking is that you can demonstrate the skills that would make you an effective professional. And the other thing to say, although it's early days, is that we have had very strong performance from candidates in the rounds that we've had so far, and I think it's reasonable to expect a good success rate for this qualification. So I think there's every reason to be positive and optimistic if you're putting yourself forward for it. So how can the CertTrans support you? Let me just maybe I'll pass that to you, Sam. What would you flag?
I would say that it clearly equips candidates with translation skills necessary for career and work opportunities globally, professionally, if they want to work in a cultural, NGO or not-for-profit environment. It provides opportunities for candidates to enter or progress in employment involving translation and languages. And it provides candidates with a UK regulated, internationally recognised qualification, as it is recognised by Ofqual and is on the RQF level 6. So in terms of complexity and levelling, it matches the expectations of Ofqual. We know that learning another language can be a challenge and involves dedication, determination and ability to keep going, but it's extremely rewarding, and I really think that this qualification supports that. So additionally, it assists candidates with a global outlook to aspire and pursue international career pathways, supports and extends a route into the level 7 diploma in translation, although that is not necessary, that's just an option for candidates. They are slightly different qualifications, but they still, the CertTrans at level 6 does have transfer to the DIP trans. And we also know that there's clear evidence that linguists, particularly at level 6 and 7, are creative thinkers, problem solvers, and having something like the CertTrans on your CV will definitely help work opportunities.
Excellent. Now, just coming back to a question that we've had in around the specialisms, I think it is really quite important to stress that the purpose of the specialized texts is not to test for specific subject matter knowledge, or particularly to check for very, very specific terminology. And I think it's also important to say, Sam, and I think you'd agree with this, that the marking scheme here is positively framed. We're looking to give people credit for what they have achieved, not to punish them for what they may have left out or omitted. So, you know, it's a very positively framed marking scheme. It is a little different from the, let's say, for example, the diploma in translation, which is at a higher level and is seeking a distinctively more challenging level, although that also some errors are permitted even in the DIP trans. But nevertheless, this is a different level. And with respect to the question about specialisms, I don't think there is a need to be daunted in terms of specific vocabulary and very specific text or indeed subject matters. That's not the purpose of the qualification. They should be accessible texts that the general reader can cope with. Would you agree with that, Sam?
I would, definitely, and in particular with the marking, it's a levels of response mark scheme. It's not right or wrong, and we award credit for what somebody can, understand, know about, or apply. So it isn't a mark scheme that is going to penalise anybody for any mistakes.
Now, let me move on to the other things. Now, what other people are saying about this qualification so far is really quite positive. The Association of Translation Companies, who represent UK translation companies and have many of them as their members, rate the CertTrans as a robust professional qualification, which they think is ideal for those starting their career as a language professional and looking to validate their expertise. And they are also asking their own members and encouraging their own members to look out for the CertTrans as an available accessible, but nevertheless demanding and reassuring qualification, which they think is ideal for early career translation professionals. So that's positive from them. Multilingual magazine were also positive about CIOL's professional qualifications as offering demonstrable proof of language and translation skills, which simply put means that people can charge higher rates, pitch for better contracts, and feel more confident in their negotiations on their own behalf because they have the confidence of a CIOL qualification under their belt. So just a few things around resources and advice. If you go to the CIOL website, there are lots and lots of resources and plenty of advice on what it's like working as a translator and some of the norms and expectations that will go with the sector. So it's well worth looking at those resources. We also have a number of top tips from CIOL members, and in particular, these were from a member of ours who said, if you can, it really is great to take a preparatory course for your exams. There are some super ones out there, many of them online. It really helps with preparation confidence and also networking and support. So if you can, a preparatory course is great. But if you can't, self-study is also completely acceptable, and many people have been successful with self-study for CIOL's qualifications over the years. Make the most of what we have to offer. So obviously, the exams are great. You can think about joining as a study affiliate and joining CIOL, so you'll get access to lots and lots of resources. Think about your specializations downstream. What interests you the most? Certainly, this member's advice was you'll enjoy your translation career more if you're working towards topics you're passionate about. So that's always worth reflecting on. They recommend volunteering as a good place to develop some expertise and experience. So Translators Without Borders, which is a charity, is a great place to start. But whilst of course it's important to be paid, volunteering is also an opportunity to practice and build your own self-confidence. And fundamentally, they also said, don't get exploited. So the great thing about being a qualified professional is it proves you have the skills, and that just makes a subtle but important difference to your own self-confidence and your own ability to negotiate. So lots and lots of information, as I say, on our website. There are a few questions which I'll just see if we can quickly give you an answer to. So for other languages outside the existing language pairs, which are Arabic, Chinese, French, German, and Spanish, we now have an expressions of interest form on the website, so you can tell us about in what likely timescale you're thinking about taking the CertTrans, whether you're thinking this year, next year, whether you're thinking this coming session or the session that we have planned for July, for example. And you can also tell us about language combinations you might be interested in. And that gives us a better forward view of what the potential demand could be. And based on that, we can then make more languages available if we believe we have the candidate profile and the candidate demand for them. There are plenty of CertTrans specific courses out there. As an awarding organisation, we wouldn't tend to recommend courses because we need to maintain our distance from the preparation of candidates, but there are a number out there. If you look at our social media, there are some links and some examples, but also there are some on our website. So there is definitely a growing offer in terms of people providing both online and face-to-face preparation courses. In terms of the units, it's a 2-unit qualification. So you take the general paper and one of the other 2 units. The DipTrans is a 3-unit qualification. This is a 2-unit qualification. I think that that covers the main questions. So I will just return to the main screen and say an enormous thank you for your interest in this qualification and for the time you've given us today. We have lots and lots of ways of getting in touch with us, so please do if you have other questions, and we're happy to do further webinars and answer any more questions that you may have.